Hey there. Ever feel like stepping into the AI world, but not quite sure where to begin?
It can feel like a whole new universe out there.
Well, you're in the right place because today's deep dive is all about navigating one path, the AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam.
We're breaking down the official guide so you can ace that certification.
And don't worry, you don't have to be a coding whiz to follow along.
Yeah, this isn't just for the hardcore programmers building algorithms from scratch. It's for anyone.
Right off the bat, the guide clarifies who it's really for.
It even says it's geared towards someone with like maybe up to 6 months of experience.
AI and ML on AWS.
Exactly. People using these tools every day, getting their hands dirty with the concepts, but not necessarily designing super complex AI systems, at least not yet.
So dipping your toes in the AI pool, not a full cannonball into the deep end.
Exactly. It's about understanding the power of these tools, how to use them effectively.
Yeah.
Because AI is being used everywhere now,
Oh, yeah.
across industries.
Absolutely.
Whether you're in marketing, finance, healthcare, you name it, this exam can be your bridge to speaking the language of AI.
Okay, so you don't need to be a coding guru to get started. Phew, that's good news. But what about the exam itself? What kind of questions are we talking here? Because the guide gets into some strategy, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's not just your typical multiple choice situation.
Oh, I know,
You'll
right.
get those select all that apply ones.
Well.
Always got to watch out for those.
Those are the worst.
And there's case studies too, which I think is cool.
Oh, yeah, applying the knowledge.
Yeah, really testing if you can use what
Yeah.
you know in like a real world scenario.
But here's where it gets kind of interesting. They have these things called unscored questions.
Oh yeah, those are interesting.
Have you seen those before?
Yeah, they're like being a beta tester for future exams.
Really? So I could be helping shape the future of this whole certification.
You got it. And the guide says they don't count towards your score. Don't worry about that.
That's good.
But it's still kind of cool to see what they're testing out for the future.
It's like a sneak peek behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Okay, but ultimately, you only need to focus on acing those 50 scored questions to get that passing badge, right?
That's right. And speaking of what you need to know, the guide does a good job. It doesn't just throw all this information at you at once.
Yeah. How is it organized?
It breaks everything down into what they call domains,
Okay,
right?
like kingdoms of knowledge.
Exactly. Kingdoms of AI knowledge you need to conquer for this exam. And one of the big ones, a significant chunk they really want you to know, is fundamentals of AI and ML.
Okay, the foundation.
Yeah, that's like 20% of the exam right there.
So you got to understand the basic.
You got to nail those down.
It makes sense, though. It's like building a house, got to have a good foundation. But what does that actually look like? Like, what's in that section of the guide?
It's not just like dry definitions. They get into some really interesting stuff.
Okay, like what?
Like how to choose the right tool for the job, which I think is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are a lot of AI and ML tools out there. And, one size doesn't fit all.
For sure, not at all. It's about strategy, right? Not just throwing the most complex AI tool at every problem.
Exactly. It's about choosing the best tool for that specific scenario.
And this is where I start to see the practicality of this exam and why this guide is so valuable. It's not just about passing a test, it's about understanding how to actually navigate the world of AI.
Absolutely.
It really highlights how this guide goes beyond just the theory.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of going beyond, this is where we get into some of those like intriguing nuggets we mentioned earlier.
Okay, yeah. What did you find intriguing?
Well, remember when we talked about choosing the right AI tool for the job? Well, they actually take it a step further and talk about the security implications of those choices, which I thought was pretty cool.
So, like, not just if a tool can do the job, but if it's also secure.
Yeah, they get into specific AWS services you should know about that are designed for securing AI systems.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're talking about things like IAM for access control, encryption for your data, really important stuff.
It's like a crash course in responsible AI deployment on top of everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes sense that AWS would bake that into the exam too. They want certified practitioners to be not just skilled, but responsible with this technology.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to see, actually. It shows that they're thinking about the bigger picture. Okay, what else stood out to you in the guide?
Well, remember how we talked about this guide emphasizing real-world application? They take it even further when they start discussing how to evaluate a model's performance.
So it's not just about, like, looking at the accuracy or those technical metrics, but, like, what those actually mean.
Yeah, they bring it back down to earth by saying, you got to look at the business impact.
At the end of the day, it's about what works in the real world.
Exactly. Because, who cares if your model has 99% accuracy if it's not actually solving the problem it's supposed to solve or like adding value to the business, right?
Totally. It's like they're saying, okay, you can build a fancy AI model, but can you make it useful?
Right. And it just highlights that this certification isn't just for data scientists, you know.
It's for anyone who's touching AI.
Exactly. It could be developers, business analysts, managers, anyone who wants to use AI to get things done.
It's really about bridging that gap between the technical and the practical, which is so important, especially these days.
For sure. I think this guide is like a decoder ring for understanding AI in a way that's relevant to your work,
hmm
you know?
I like that analogy. It's a decoder ring. Okay, we've covered a lot here, but if you had to pick just one thing, one key takeaway for our listeners today, what would you say? What's the one thing you'd say is the most important to remember about this guide?
That it's useful even if you aren't planning to take the exam, you know?
Oh, really?
It is. It's packed with good information like a crash course in AI. It gives you the core knowledge, but it also encourages you to keep learning to go deeper into the areas that interest you.
That's so important, especially in AI. Things move so fast.
They really do. It's like
Yeah.
they're handing you the tools and saying, all right, now go build something awesome,
Yeah.
which I love. It's been great talking about all this with you.
Yeah, this was fun. We explored the AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam, looked at some real-world tips from the guide, and hopefully showed everyone that this guide is more than just a study guide.
It's like a roadmap to navigating AI for anyone.
Exactly. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive today. Big thanks to you for joining me. It's always great picking your brain.
Anytime. Good luck to everyone out there on their AI journey.
And remember, the learning never stops. We'll catch you all in our next deep dive.